I'm worried about Austin Eckler for a few reasons. One thing, he's 29. Same concerns that I have with Derrick Henry, except for he's a lot less efficient of a runner than Derrick Henry is. Derrick Henry is impossible to tackle, and he's a truck. So that's part of the reason why. But Austin Eckler, I feel like with the new system with Kellen Moore, it's going to be more bullish for somebody like a Quinton Johnson or a Mike Williams or even a Keenan Allen than somebody like an Austin Eckler. I feel like they're going to probably move away from the checkdowns because ultimately that's what kind of hurt the Chargers this past season was being the checkdown kings. I also think that it's more bullish for someone like a Gerald Everett, who
Yeah.
I wouldn't really target as a tight end unless if you're in the later rounds, but he's somebody that I'm a little concerned about moving forward, especially because the amount of workload that he's had over the last 5, 6 years, and it's his contract year, and they drafted a running back and their new offensive coordinator. It's not that I think he's going to be a bad running back. I think he's going to be an RB1, but I think that if your league was smart, he would fall in the draft to the end of the first round, early second.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Not because I'm not saying he's not going to be an RB1, but like if you're drafting, say, fifth and available to you is either Austin Eckler or Jamar Chase,
Jamar.
I'm taking Jamar Chase here. You know, if you're looking at an AJ Brown or a Justin Jefferson, or hell, even if it's at the later round and you have like a Patrick Mahomes or a Travis Kelsey's a more valuable position right here.
Yeah.
That's what I would go with.
Yeah, I agree with that. Um, Players I've been thinking about like not drafting this year that are high on Fantasy Pros. In tier one, I have Jonathan Taylor.
Hmm. Okay.
He's in tier one in Fantasy Pros, and he's still going really high in a lot of these drafts. He had one of the greatest seasons ever, had a down year last year, but ranked as the fourth overall pick currently right now. Personally, I think that's just way too high.
Hmm.
And the reason I say I'm cautious about him is he's still going really high in these mock drafts, and people are still thinking he's a very high value player when he had like a really great year, and then the other years have been solid and definitely coming off some injuries. I'm worried about him, especially a rookie head coach. The offensive line is one of those offensive lines that's like legacy wise, people are like, it's one of the best offensive lines in the league, and actually it's still starting to deteriorate, and everyone's on that line's still getting really old. So Jonathan Taylor I have on here. Josh Jacobs, anytime you have the best fantasy running back, there's always that uh, potential fall off. It's very rare that a player will win back to back years as the number one fantasy running back. So I always proceed with caution there. And then a guy I think is probably just going to fall off the map, and I hope I'm wrong this year, is Joe Mixon. Like we've been waiting for it for a while, and now a lot of legal issues with him, a lot of off the field drama, and I think the Bengals are going to have a very short patience for him this year. They drafted a running back this year. They're starting to wean him out of the offense, and Joe Mixon can be great, but he just has too many stinkers for me to
Hmm.
really draft him where people think he's valuable. So, and then my last one, tier two, Tony Pollard. I think Tony Pollard is a great backup running back. I don't think he's the number one for his team. And as far as a number one fantasy running back, which ranked as the seventh, he would be a number one running back. I don't think he's that valuable. And I think in the passing game, he's he's not overrated, but he gets compared to Alvin Kamara. And like in his prime, Alvin Kamara is just a different animal. And I don't see him reaching those heights. And they almost waited too long to make him the running back where he has enough wear and tear on him. I don't think he's going to have as much of a burst as a number one running back should be. So, as far as Tony Pollard, a little bit worried about him being ranked as the seventh running back.
Yeah. And then I agree with all of those here. Tony Pollard, I have my concerns with. I do think he'll still be a RB1, but probably a lower end RB1.
Mm.
But one player I also forgot to mention is Ramondre Stevenson. Now, my concerns with Ramondre Stevenson is just Patriots running backs. Maybe this is a bad logic, and you can roast me in the comments if I'm wrong. But Patriots running backs, even the ones that have been successful in fantasy in years past, like a James White, like a LeGarrette Blunt in years past, Corey Dillon's, like they never really repeat the same success for the next year. Now, on paper, they lost Damian Harris, and it should be Ramondre Stevenson's, you know, running back responsibilities. However, they're linked to Dalvin Cook, so that's something to keep an eye on. And then they always draft running backs. They drafted a couple this year as well, and they love the committee backfield. What happened last year was kind of a fluke for what's usually the Patriots running back system. So I think that he's just not going to be worth his ADP. And that's really what it comes down to. It's not that I think he's going to be bad. I think he's closer to an RB2, maybe an RB3, but I just think that what happened last year was kind of fluky.
Yeah, for sure.
I just have my concerns.
Yeah, I definitely share some of those concerns. Another player I share some concerns for too. I don't know if you have as many concerns for this player, but just kind of comes around year in and year out is D Swift being the
Hmm.
number one running back for the Eagles. I know a lot of people are high on him, but I think he's at the points where he's almost like damaged goods and he has to play like a full season for me to really believe in him. He's not ranked that high on Fantasy Pros. I still know a lot of Eagles fans that would be more than happy to draft him in the first round overall.
That's clown. That's
But
ridiculous.
I think D Swift, I'm kind of another player where it's like, I don't know.
See, that's somebody that there's too many questions and there's too many risks involved where he's probably going to be drafted in like the fourth round.
Yeah.
I would just give it to somebody else. Like if you're wrong, that's great. You get to enjoy DeAndre Swift come into his own and he'll be a great pick next year. But like, I would just avoid him. Like,
Yeah.
there's other players around his ADP that I just wouldn't worry about it. I mean, like, there's still like a Javonte Williams who's ranked lower than him. There's someone like I think Isaiah Pacheco probably has a higher ceiling than him. Like, not only that, they got Rashard Penny as well,
Mhm.
and they also have this guy named Jalen Hurts
Yeah.
who's also pretty good at running the football. So I just think that like I would personally fade him, honestly.